So in the UK, today, Parliament, they had their third reading of a new bill, okay? This is also referred to as the Spy Cops Bill. It's the Covert Human Intelligence Sources Bill, okay? What this bill does, it allows undercover police to legally commit crimes. Yes, you heard that correctly. It allows them to commit crimes. You're an undercover agent, you can just do whatever you want. You can kill someone, you can rape them, you can torture them. You will be protected under this bill. That's not an exaggeration. That's the only purpose of this bill. I'm not joking. That's what this bill is for. Do you want to look at how they voted? You ready? Wow. 313 to 98. 313 to 98. So now, of course, the bill goes on to the House of Lords, right? From the House of Commons to the House of Lords, and they will debate it. Pay attention to this giant blue blob over here. That's the Conservatives. Where's Labour? Oh, that's right, they abstained. So what Keir Starmer did, who's now the Labour leader, who's a former member of the intelligence community, yes, he whipped the party into line and said, you abstain. Meaning, let the bill through. Just let it through. And then we can worry about amending it in the House of Lords. So the very few people that voted against this, okay, who actually have a spine, who actually stand for something, who actually respect and value human rights, Jeremy Corbyn is one of them. I would like to point your attention also to the 3 shadow ministers who were sacked just a few weeks ago because they've also voted against the Overseas Operations Bill, which legalizes war crimes by UK troops. Yes, the UK is trying as hard as possible to become even more evil. Yeah. So they're trying to legalize war crimes with the Overseas Operations Bill, and now they're trying to legalize crimes at home, torture, rape, murder, by undercover police. And so Jeremy Corbyn, he voted against it. He gave a good little 10-minute speech in Parliament, which I watched. And then, of course, we have the 3 shadow ministers, right? So among them, Olivia Blake. We also have Beth Winter.
Nadia Whittam. And there's also Afsana Begum, who I remember seeing at the Assange hearing. So all of these people here on the screen, they voted against this bill. And we also had Dan Carden, who not only voted against this, but flat out resigned. He's the shadow financial secretary to the Treasury. He represents a constituency in Liverpool, working class background, comes from a working class family. His dad was involved with unions, with dockers who went on strike in the 90s. And so when you see a bill that is giving police the power to spy on unions, which is what they've done and been caught doing, and you're not even allowed to oppose it, understandably, he resigned over it. You have to keep in mind, he's in the front bench. Okay, this is one of the leaders of the Labour Party. He resigned. They've been using the police to spy on NGOs, on human rights groups, on activities that are 100% legal. Nothing wrong with them. So he resigned, Dan Carden. Now, I just want to point your attention to something else, to another vote, because they tried to amend this thing. So this was Amendment 7. 317 no's, 256 ayes. Do you know what this amendment was for, Amendment 7? This amendment, Amendment 7, was meant to prevent the police, to stop them from being able to commit murder, rape people, torture them, detain them. That's what that amendment was for. It was shot down. 317 no's. They shot down the fucking amendment that specifically barred these crimes. Unbelievable. And then, of course, they shot down another amendment, which was meant to provide a clause where they have to get a warrant, a judicial warrant, from a judge before they can actually commit these crimes. So any kind of safeguards imaginable, all down the drain, all out the window. This is what we're dealing with. There's no opposition party anymore. The Labour Party and the Tories are like this now. Do you understand? There's no semblance of an opposition. It's gone. It's erased. Unbelievable. This is really unbelievable. You can see here, we have this massive inquiry going on we're still waiting for the result, which you can imagine is one of the reasons why they're trying to push this bill through Parliament and the House of Lords as fast as possible. So the police
They've spied on over 1,000 political groups since 1968, and we don't even know who they are. There's no official list of these groups. So once again, we have a national security state that is running wild, that is spying on people doing completely normal legal things. As I mentioned, human rights groups, unions, they're violating their privacy. They're engaging in sexual relations with them. They're just running wild. You can't make this up, man. You really can't make this up. And the best part, in the bill, let's take a look at when they've given themselves the authority to kill people, murder them, torture them, whatever. Let's take a look at the conditions. So, a criminal conduct authorization. That's literally what they're calling it. We will authorize ourselves to commit criminal conduct. This is fucking insane. A criminal conduct authorization is necessary on grounds falling within this subsection if it is necessary in the interests of national security, of course. The blanket justification. B, for the purpose of preventing or detecting crime or of preventing disorder. Or C, in the interests of the economic well-being of the United Kingdom. What does that mean? What does that mean? The economic well-being, the economic interests of the United Kingdom? So as Jeremy Corbyn put it, does that mean if they deem a trade union going on strike to be a threat, a quote-unquote threat to the economic well-being because it would disrupt trade, right? Workers going on strike because they've reached the end of negotiations, they can't get any further with management. They go on strike, they withhold their labor. This disrupts trade, that's the desired effect. Is that also a threat now to the economic well-being of the United Kingdom? That means we can now go and spy on trade unions legally, we can kill people, union leaders. Endless possibilities here. Let your imagination just run wild, whatever that means. This is insane. I mean, I'm laughing because it's like my brain cannot digest that this is real. It looks like something out of 1984. It really does. A criminal conduct authorization. They're literally writing legislation that lets them act like criminals. You know, and I just like to point out the irony here. I just like to point out the irony of how when the government declares that something is in the public interest, it's okay for them to break the law. That's exactly what they're saying here. However, if you are a journalist and you expose government wrongdoing because it's in the interest of the general public, oh, we will extradite you to the US. Fuck you. Interesting how that works, right? Interesting. If you expose lies, propaganda that is sold by the BBC, that is sold by Western media, you will be threatened with legal action by the government. All of a sudden, real journalism is not in the public interest, but the government killing people, raping them, committing sexual violence against them, spying on them, that's in the public interest. Wow. Wow. Fucking hell. I'm speechless. You know, I was looking at the Overseas Operations Bill from a few weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know how it can get any worse than this. They're legalizing war crimes. They're just black on white. They're legalizing war crimes. They were already illegal. We all know that. They're not going to prosecute anyone. No one is ever actually held truly accountable for war crimes. But nonetheless, it is a new precedent. It is. And here they just outdo themselves. Now they're legalizing things akin to war crimes at home. Wow. It's really like a competition now, right? The UK and the US are trying to see who could be more evil. They're going to run wild. There was another amendment that was shot down today that would require the government to provide a tally at the end of every year to show how many of these criminal conduct authorizations took place, right? How many people they've killed, what they've done. You know, some kind of checks and balances, right? Some kind of accountability. So that the police, even though they're being given permission to run wild and kill people and do whatever they like, they still have to show something for it. That was also shot down. So the police, undercover police, will be able to get away with murder, with rape, with sexual violence, with spying. They don't have to report to anyone. And no one is going to hold them accountable. This is madness. And it's not just police, by the way. You have to understand something. The government runs several kinds of undercover operations. Not just the police, it's also the national security state, so it's also MI5 and MI6. They also have things like operations in regards to counterfeit medicine, right? Counterfeit drugs. They have people running operations on toxic waste disposal. So this has far-reaching implications. You need to understand that. I love how they've called it also James Bond style bill. Yeah, it really is a license to kill. That's literally what they're doing. So, as I mentioned, it's not just the police. It's MI5 and other intelligence bodies, police forces and the National Crime Agency, immigration and border officers, customs, the UK military, of course, the Ministry of Justice, investigations in prisons. What the fuck does that mean? And this one, here we go. Competition and Markets Authority, Environment Agency, Financial Conduct Authority, Food Standards Agency, Gambling Commission, and Medicines and Healthcare Regulation Authority. So it's really a blanket bill that gives the government sweeping powers. Sweeping powers. Not just with the police, but all kinds of organs, all kinds of bodies in the government. They can just go after and start running undercover operations and infiltration and killing and murdering people. And get away with it. And we can't even know. I really wish I was exaggerating. I'm not. I'm not exaggerating to you that these amendments were shot down today. An amendment that would say the police cannot just kill people because they're running an undercover operation or rape them. That was shut down. And the Labour Party did nothing. They were all whipped into allowing this to go through. So now it goes to the House of Lords. I'm going to give you a spoiler here, and I will tell you that it will come back to the Parliament with hardly any amendments, and this thing will go through, unfortunately. That's the fucking state of affairs. I told you, you're going to think I'm exaggerating when I tell you this. You're going to think this is, it's madness. Yeah, it is madness, but it's also real, unfortunately. And you know, any kind of semblance of human rights, the Human Rights Act, you can forget about it, because the Human Rights Act, which is the implementation of the European Convention on Human Rights in British law, they've been trying to gut this for a long time. Even 10 years ago, I was hearing how they would debate it in Parliament and say, oh, it's preventing us from doing this and that. They've always hated this thing, right? Now they're trying to gut it for several reasons, because they want to get the Overseas Operations Bill passed, which allows them to commit war crimes, as if the UK just gives itself the right to violate international law. They're trying to do that so they can also get rid of Assange, extradite him. You have to remember that Gary McKinnon's extradition was blocked because Theresa May cited the Human Rights Act. So it has its uses. Yes, human rights actually have their uses. They're trying to get rid of this thing. Just a few weeks ago in the media, in The Guardian, we saw an article how they're trying to gut this. So there is a real concerted effort here from the government to get rid of one of the only pieces of legislation that provides any kind of semblance of a guarantee to life, of a guarantee to privacy, to human rights. They're trying to gut it completely and then get this kind of draconian, Orwellian shit passed. I really wish I was exaggerating. I'm not. I think I'm understating how fucking severe this is, if anything. Disgusting. Absolutely disgraceful.